right.
We're rolling?
To it. Yep. Let's get
All
into
right.
it. What's new?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I got a question.
Sure. What's up?
Just because I know you're ultra fan. Where's Tim Pool?
Yeah, I know. He was back.
Was
he's supposed to be back tonight, I think. But his culture show, the Timcast.
Did you say where he was?
What they were making a lot of jokes about it back and forth, but it sounded like he had lost his voice. And I noticed one of the last videos I had watched of his, he had said that he was losing his voice and he sounded real gruff. He said that he had gotten sick and started to feel better, but his voice kept getting worse and worse, so he took a few days off.
Then why did they keep saying that he was on assignment?
On assignment, and right.
I would think,
because that's what I thought. Like, wow, is he really,
there goes
digging
my
into something? So we'll find out tonight on his show, maybe. Because he said he was going to try to come back for tonight's show, but the culture show that he has was out. I was watching that earlier.
It's just
He
weird.
had said in that show that he was off for a couple of days because he had lost his voice. So,
Huh.
Yeah.
So there goes my bet. I was betting that he was doing an interview with Trump. That's what I thought.
I thought he was into something really good, but no, I think he just got sick and then lost his voice. And he had made a comment before he disappeared that his voice, he kept clearing his voice, saying, man, I'm losing my voice. And he did sound really raspy and gruff. So maybe that's all it was.
Huh. Well,
that's a boner kill, isn't it?
Yeah, I was hoping for some,
yeah.
I was hoping for some good, tea.
Yeah, that would have been a good one too. So I guess, since it's all over media and everything, we probably should address the Titanic submarine issue, a little bit.
It wasn't good. I don't know. I'm kind of split on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I'd sent you that video of while the media was covering the whole Titanic thing, what was going on,
right?
That we were not paying attention to, and there's a whole list of stuff, Yeah, it's a tragedy, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess a couple of areas that I'd like to dig in. Well, I can't believe anyone hasn't heard about it, but in case there's someone listening that hasn't.
Yeah, there you go.
A submersible. It's not technically like a military grade submarine or anything. It's a submersible that they were taking down to the wreckage of the Titanic, and they would take explorers down, or some people call them tourists, whatever. I mean, you're paying $250,000 a seat, and it was on a descent on its way down. About an hour and 45 minutes into its descent, they lost contact with the ship above it, and a big rescue operation was taking place. They were trying to locate the sub if it was sitting down on the bottom of the ocean to see if they could get these. There was 5 people aboard. One was like the co-founder of the company, and they were all billionaires, I believe. Every one of them were billionaires, or they were all hyper rich.
Yeah.
And they had about 4 days worth of oxygen that they could sustain, so they were punching the clock trying to find this sub and recover it and get these people out alive. And unfortunately, they found the wreckage of it about 1,600 feet from so a few football fields away from the bow of the Titanic.
Now you said, okay, this is where, see now, because I had heard they only had 12 hours worth of oxygen on that submersible.
Yeah, it was up to 4 days with, because the whole dive itself could take up to 8 hours, and they had, so it's probably 12 hours with the carbon dioxide scrubbers that they use.
Okay.
But they had scuba tanks that you could bleed out oxygen into the into the.
That's what I'm saying. It's just weird how there's so many
we'll
different...
call it a sub just for argument's sake, but it's a submersible, I guess.
Yeah.
It's size of a minivan. You know, had 5 people kind of crammed in there, and I mean, I guess the first thing I'd want to dig into is I seen a lot of hate online about this and people making fun of them and like some really memes that were just kind of terrible. I thought like, and at first I think what kind of caught my attention was, well, why are they getting all this hate? Like, they had no business doing this. They shouldn't have been down there in the first place. And I thought, why would anyone have that attitude? Because to me, if you want to go somewhere where there's barely been a human that's ever been, like, and I guess there was less than 250 people that have ever been down to the Titanic wreckage and back. So, you know, out of billions of people in the globe, like, you're outside of maybe the moon landing, if that was even real, that's probably the only other thing that less people have done. You know, I respect it. That's kind of cool. Like, you know, isn't it that explorer attitude that it's why we know now that the Earth isn't flat? I know flat earthers give me some hate, but you know, North America was discovered that way. The exploration that we've done in space is why we have satellites up there, why we have cell phones and internet, and all this stuff came from people wanting to do something because no one else had done it. You know, isn't there a Tesla floating around the universe right now that, you know, Musk shot up out there trying to take it to Mars or something and missed? So I don't have any hate for someone wanting to do that, you know. So then I started to wonder, is it really they just hated them because they're rich? And I kind of think maybe that's more of why people were celebrating the death of these guys. Like, why? Because they're rich? I don't begrudge anyone for being rich. Good for them. I want to be rich. You know? I'm not. I'm poor. I'm what you consider white trash. I'm just a poor hillbilly. But, you know, if I had the opportunity to be rich, woo.
Well, everybody.
Yeah.
And then the people that say, no, I wouldn't. You know,
Yeah.
Shit.
Bullshit. Yep. I
Yeah.
call bullshit.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to be rich? Who wouldn't want to vacation all over the world in the most coolest places and do the coolest shit? Would I have done this? No. But you know what? And all this hate, like, oh, look at, now you need all this regulation and laws, and because someone, you know, died, and it's like, and I can't remember, you'll have to look it up. You can do it while fact check me on this, but isn't it like 22 people a year die on Mount Everest? I mean, there's frozen bodies all over Mount Everest right now.
So there were
Bodies that they can't recover, like.
See, they're trying to do a recovery though. No, they're trying to recover some of the body.
Yeah,
I guess there's like, I guess it's just littered too.
Yeah.
You want to talk about? They were talking about the amount of litter on Everest.
Garbage all over it.
God, the oxygen bottles, all the tumblers, you know, and
just shit laying all over that mountain. So it's sad. Why do people want to climb the mountain? I don't know, because not very many people ever have. And I thought I had read that it was like only 50% of the attempts actually make it to the summit back. And out of the 50%, like you have like a 30% chance of death. Like, so the odds are very not in your favor that going up that mountain, like, you got a very good chance of dying. Like, you know this, and people do it every year anyways. You know, they want to do something no one else has done. Well, you know what? Let them.
Yeah, I don't understand the.
Personally, I'm not going to climb the mountain because I'm afraid of heights. And honestly, I wouldn't go in a submarine 2.5 miles down to the ocean floor. Although I'm fascinated with Titanic, I remember when they finally discovered it, exactly where it was, in the first video footage that ever came out of the Titanic. I was watching the media when it happened. Like, I have been just a super fan of that story forever, my entire life. But I'm claustrophobic to beat hell. There's no way I could get in that little tube and go down into complete pitch blackness and but I don't blame anyone else for it. You know what? And then some of it is really, I'm gonna call some people out on this, but they had the balls to do it. And there's other people that would be too afraid to, so you want to give them some hate. Truthfully, 5 people died, and they had families, man.
I'm just gonna pause you real quick. It's approximately 5 climbers a year die on Everest since 1922.
20, but maybe it was just a bad year.
Yeah, 2014 had 16, 1996 had 15.
Okay, so I was close on later numbers, so maybe more people are climbing it. That's why.
Yeah. Anyways, so
but because you think the gear's better, the paths, like they know this mountain, the Sherpas, yeah, Sherpas. Sorry, they're really good. Hell, we just watched some video not that long ago. One of them bringing a guy down on his back. Another billionaire that didn't even give him credit for it. You know,
Everest isn't even the highest.
No, I know. I just seen that. I always thought it was, and it's not. I just seen that yesterday. I think they were breaking down some of the highest peaks in the world, and I think it's number 3. Actually, it was the one in South America is the highest, and then one in Hawaii. But they said most of the mountains underwater. And they were saying, well, that doesn't count because it's not above sea level. And the argument the gentleman was making was, well, if, the tallest person in the world was this tall, but he was standing in a swimming pool waist deep, would he still not be the tallest person in the world? So it's kind of weird, but...
Yeah, I don't remember which one.
I think it's one in South America, at least the report I watched yesterday. It's weird that you brought that up. I had just seen that. Because I always thought it was the top of the world.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not. I think it's number 3.
Yeah.
Surprised me.
See, the one said...
So, man, thoughts and prayers before we go into some other shit to the family, the people that died. Like, it's sad, man. Like, and so the other thought of this was, were we getting psyoped and distracted? And, I think really the public had a lot of interest in it because I think the idea of you sitting in a little metal tube crammed in there with a couple of other people in pitch blackness and cold, knowing that you're probably going to die and then lingering around for a couple of days before you suffocate is just a terrifying thought. Right? Just God, to die that way is just terrifying. At least to me. Like, man, I would not want to go that way. And I admit, my mind kind of went into a dark place. They were talking about the O2 that they had. And, if they were being calm and trying to not hyperventilate down there, they could get 4 days into early Thursday morning before they would run out of oxygen with the 5 people in there. And the first thought I had is, well, do we know that there's 5 people alive down there?
Right.
Think about this. You're limited in oxygen. Freddy's sleeping next to you. Do you just murder him and save the oxygen for 3 people? Knock off 2? I mean... I'm
assuming at that point, they
would you draw straws? I mean, we've seen that in history, right? We've seen them draw straws to say, okay, we're going to kill someone and then eat you because they were lost at sea, in a dinghy. So people can get really dark in a situation like that. And then, the one kid was a young adult, right? So I'm thinking, man, as a father, would you hey, off me so that you can go an extra day so that my son could possibly live? I don't know, man. Your mind's thinking that kind of stuff,
Yeah, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, but I assume these people knew going into this. It didn't matter.
Right.
There is no. They don't have. My understanding is they don't have. even the U.S. military is not designed to search and rescue at that depth.
No.
Like there is no coming from.
No,
like,
there's explorers. Like they had a pretty good system set up to retrieve it. Had they found it, had it been just sitting down there, they had the boat. I believe it came out of France. They had two of them that could retrieve something from 19,000 feet or some ridiculous amount. It was actually deeper. It was deeper than what the sub was at, to hoist it out of there if they could have found it. But like military, no, because I seen an expert and he said there's no reason for the military to be down there, so they just don't really have the equipment. It's explorers that kind of do.
Well,
you know.
But if a sub became disabled and drifted down, they would have to have a way to try to rescue those people. And they were saying that not even the military was set up to rescue at those depths. Right. So even, and again, there's so many opinions floating around on this. I don't know.
And everyone was an expert, right?
Right. I don't.
People that had.
This is just what I was hearing today. They're saying that even if they could have found him alive, if that vessel was disabled, because I saw where I got the 12 hours from. It said the length of time it took them to get down there. Yeah. By the time they became missing, they asked the U.S. Coast Guard, I think it said, estimated they had 20 hours of oxygen left. And then to amass rescue mission for a vessel that, like you were saying, could even possibly reach down and pick it up if they found it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long shot, no doubt.
Yeah, they're saying that.
Just to even find it, needle in a haystack. So,
yeah,
then we were talking about, like, well, you know, are they really pushing this heavy, the media, to keep you distracted into what other kind of news is going on in the background that no one's really paying attention to? And you know, there was some news, but then I heard a report last night that the U.S. Navy heard the implosion. So for anyone who doesn't know, the wreckage of it was found. It imploded on the way down in the water column somewhere, getting down in those depths, and the co-founder of the company and designer of the sub had been told this was not a really good design. I think he used some carbon fiber with metal, and he had broke some rules. He said in a video himself, I watched the video where he openly admitted, like, this is against the rules, but you know, you break them. The greatest people in the world break the rules, and I did it successfully. And look at it, it works. Well, it didn't. So if there was any good news in this, it's that from the experts I've heard, and you know, like I said, everyone's an expert, but they had some pretty credible people on there that I had listened to that said that this was so instant, like your brain didn't even have a chance to comprehend that you were dying. Like the implosion was like a fraction of a millisecond, and your brain can't even process data that fast. And what happened is it imploded, kind of like a diesel engine compressing oxygen, then it explodes and it just vaporizes a lot of the remains. And so, like, it was so fast, like speeding bullet kind of death. Hopefully that is what happened, so that they just didn't know, you know. I hope no one suffered. And
I think that's...
it made sense.
Well,
with pressures.
Yes, but there's been other tragedies where they've told us the same thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
Isn't it sad?
And then you get the black box and the cockpit recorder, and you find out that the pilot was screaming all the way down.
Right.
I seen a report, something about the Challenger, and they were saying the guy, it was on Tim Pool, actually, on his show, and he was a lawyer, and he said, well, I'm not going to get into it now, but, you know, it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter in there. And I'm thinking, are you sure it wasn't the other shuttle that burned up in entry? That's the one that got hotter and hotter and hotter. Like the Challenger just exploded into pieces. So
yeah, but the crew is still alive in the Challenger.
Sure. Yeah, they were alive when it exploded. But I'm saying you wouldn't have had it
exploded. They were still alive.
Right.
But I know what you're saying.
You wouldn't have had a black box recording them talking after the shuttle had disintegrated.
Well,
so I don't know if he just confused the two. But either way, he brought up the point that I just think he meant the other space shuttle, which was Discovery, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one that burned up over?
Yeah, so that makes sense why that one would.
Yeah, why it would get hotter and hotter and hotter, and you could hear people, obviously, like, terrible way of dying, but yet the public was told, oh, it was quick. They didn't feel anything. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Like we've had that smoke blown up our ass more than once, and it was proven wrong. So I feel really bad for the families. I feel really bad for the explorers, man. Like, I think they were doing something really cool and something I don't have the nuts to do. So, good on them. It's sad. I hope it was just instant. But the expert that he was like a submarine expert, like he knew all about the pressures and I did do a lot of training with obviously one of the plants that I worked in, right, with tank cars and with the fire department. And there's some pretty good videos of tanker cars imploding. Anthony Brian Logan's show ABL Live, he put a video up and it showed a tanker car imploding, and it was a second maybe, and it just crunches in. And I know that the pressures on that sub were way worse than what was on that tanker car. So maybe it's just makes me feel better about it, but I think it was probably pretty painless for him. I hope so.
So in here it says NASA later, they said, it exploded, the Challenger shuttle in 86 exploded. NASA later conceded it was likely that at least 3 of the crew members aboard remained conscious after the explosion, and perhaps even throughout the few minutes it took for the crew compartment of the shuttle to fall back to Earth and slam into the Atlantic Ocean.
Terrible.
The agency was highly secretive about matters relating to the Challenger tragedy, actively fighting in the courts media requests to be allowed to access to photographs of the wreckage and details of settlements made by the crew's families or of autopsy reports.
So, there you go.
And I don't know if that...
But I think he meant the other one,
yeah,
though, because
he
was talking about the heat, and the other one burnt up.
Well, here's transcripts from the... These are supposed to be transcripts of... Yeah, this is from NASA. Look at that. That's cool. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, I did not know that either. Huh. It's very interesting. You should bring it up on screen, though, if we're going to...
Well, I need to investigate and make sure this is legit. It says history.nasa.gov.
Well, I mean, we tell everyone, fact check us anyways, because we're not, media. So we're just a couple of boneheads giving you our opinions on shit. So back to the point, though, so that if the Navy knew about this, they heard it, and they didn't say anything. Well, so I would absolutely say then people got psyoped a little bit, like they let everyone hold their breath, all the public, hoping that there'd be this miraculous outcome of this story, knowing that the sub most likely had been destroyed because they heard it.
Well, they heard something, but do we know that the military knew it was missing yet? That's my question.
But I'm saying once they knew that it was missing, I mean, the Coast Guard's involved, right? Like it hit national media. By that point, they knew that there was a missing sub. They knew then that it had been destroyed, and they didn't say anything until the debris was.
I know the Coast Guard was looking, but does that mean the Coast Guard was communicating with the Navy that was in that area recording sounds?
I would have to think that there had to be some back and forth, but you know what?
And then two,
everybody in the country was watching this live 24/7. And I'm pretty sure the media knew about it.
Okay, and then two, if your dad or brother was on there, would you like to find it out on the Legacy News, or would you rather someone contacted you first?
Contact you first.
Right.
And sure. Absolutely.
So the people, I've heard people talking about that too, saying, they didn't say anything for so many hours. Well,
It wasn't even so many hours. It wasn't until the Coast Guard confirmed that they found the wreckage.
well, again, I mean,
And then it was, what, 12 hours after
right, and
that?
that's typically how you go when you're investigating and searching, is, then it probably took time for the Navy to report to, you know how it is. I mean,
Sure, but
there's so much.
I think that, I don't know, to me it seemed more nefarious than that. It just,
I mean, right.
I have no faith in that system anymore.
And I'm not saying you're wrong.
They've lied to us so much and let us believe things that they knew wasn't true.
Right.
And that's why they should have never done that, because look at how bad the system's busted now. Like, you can't believe anything you see, even on media anymore. Like,
Right. Well, okay.
sad.
Yeah, and I want to get to that too. But so the Navy, whoever heard or recorded this sound, right? How do they figure out where the sound even came from? Right? They have to do some investigating, be like, is there some radar, some tracking to where they zero in?
From what I understood was, this is technology that they use out there for spy subs that are trying to come into our area. So it pretty much pinpoints good idea of where.
So they had to identify, right? And we don't know if they knew yet that this thing, because I mean, say you're on a sub out there hunting Russian subs, right? Mm-hmm. Do you even know that there's this? Okay, so by the time that this other Navy by the time the Navy found out this sub had gone missing, how much time had gone by?
Right.
Let's say,
I would think not much.
Let's say 24
hours. You got
hours.
the Coast Guard. I think once the Coast Guard's involved and there's an actual search being conducted, I think all the military.
Do they pull the U.S. Navy off of
they might
nuclear Russian sub watch to go?
No, they might not pull them off, but I bet you that they're notified that this is going on, because otherwise they're going to hear all of this traffic now in the water, helicopters, planes, like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't want them thinking like, hey, what's going on?
I guess we got to find this out too.
Yeah, I would think they would have to be notified right away. Who was dealing with the planes? I mean, was it all just U.S. Coast Guard, or was the Navy involved at all? I don't know. But I'm sure it didn't take them very long to figure out that, if they didn't know right away that that was a sound of a sub imploding, which they might even know just by the way it sounded, like that's what it was.
Maybe. I don't, but my point was,
especially if they knew how deep it was, how many noises do they really get from depths like that? Like, if you hear something explode underwater like that, it probably has a unique sound to it that they're listening for. So
I'm just thinking there's more. I think for information to travel through the chains, it takes longer than what we think. Right? Like, that's my point, is usually the first information we get is always wrong.
Sure.
Right? So, in my mind, the way this is, they're out exploring, the Coast Guard probably was notified that they're going to be out there doing this dive. I'm sure they notified them every time they go out and do this. I would have to assume, right?
I would think so. And
then maybe the Coast Guard, I'm assuming, contacts someone in the Navy and says, hey, I'm assuming this guy, because this is where it's at.
Sure.
This is where it's at in the North Atlantic. So it's, I don't know how far from the U.S. that is.
It's in international waters. I know.
Right,
that,
but I'm saying, so I'm assuming we have subs in this area, right?
Sure. I would think.
I'll bring this up.
We know now that we got spy technology listening for subs and water craft.
Maybe the Coast Guard notified the Navy, hey, they're doing another explorative dive, just so if you guys are in the area, heads up, whatever, right? And then they start this dive, everything's going good, and they were an hour and
45 minutes in.
A couple hours into it, and they lost contact, right?
Yep.
So then they got to figure out why they're not getting communication. Just a broken wire? Is there a problem? Right? They got
to wait and see if the sub resurfaces too, because I think I had read there's like 13 different ways that sub could surface if it had an emergency, and obviously it was an hour and 45 minutes down. Like it takes a little bit for it to surface. So yeah, it's all time consuming. Like,
and then I wonder how long
there's a delay in
so how long when it went miss. So do they think at the hour 45 is when it imploded?
That's what I heard. Yeah,
okay.
That's when that lost communication is probably when it happened.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So the Navy hears something.
Or shortly thereafter, but we'll know for sure soon because the debris field. If the debris field is tight, then it was really close to the bottom when it imploded, if not on the bottom. If it's spread out a little more, so they'll know exactly where at in the water column it happened. They'll be able to triangulate where they believe
Yeah.
because they'll throw in all the currents and all that stuff too, so way beyond my ability of understanding.
But again, I try not to jump to too many presumptions too early. I try to play this
I gotta
out,
think, especially once the rescue operation started, like you got ships coming from Canada, from France. How did the Navy not know that?
So how long? Okay, so how long? At what point did they start a search?
It sounded like to me within, I thought, 12 hours, if memory serves me correctly. Like, it was faster than I thought.
Yeah.
I remember in the report, I thought, wow, that's actually kind of fast because, time, they only got so much time before they run out of oxygen. So you kind of had to light a fire and get on people, get them going right away, because these assets, it's not like there was just a rescue boat that had everything you needed. Like they had to bring pieces from other countries over to be able to, and I think they could have rescued the sub had it been down there. Now would they have gotten in time? Maybe not, but they could have brought it up off the bottom. The specialists I seen on there that work in that kind of stuff said they could have brought it up.
Huh.
I don't know, man. I can tell you this, that a couple years ago, James Cameron made a complete movie about this, documentary, and he's a filmmaker, and he's, got subs down there recording every inch of the Titanic to reconstruct it and, make sure that in his movie it was done right. So I think we could do a lot more than what people think. But there wasn't like a rescue boat that had everything you needed. Like you had to bring assets from some pieces from Canada, some pieces from France, some pieces from some other countries, and put them all together to be able to do it. And it wasn't military, it was more the explorer group of people that kind of had this stuff. Because from my understanding, the military just doesn't do anything in depths like that. That's deeper than whales go. Like the whales don't even go down that deep. So that's why 80% of the bottom of the ocean's unexplored and unmapped. Like you don't even know it. Like there's parts of the ocean I heard yesterday, they don't even really know how deep it really is.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. Could you imagine if there was like a hole that went kind of through the earth to the other side? Like we wouldn't even know it. Like this whole time we thought that, there was this perfect ball of magma in the center of the earth, and then the other layers filled out. Maybe it's not exactly the way we think. Who knows? Because science, it evolves, it changes as our understanding changes, as explorers figure out new things.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that they said that the water, it's so dark down there, and the salinity is so high in the water that light doesn't penetrate good. That's why
3 meters.
Yeah, that's why I said everything
with the brightest lights they have, 3 meters.
Isn't that crazy?
It's nuts. So no, I would be terrified to try to, to get in one of these subs where you're on vacation and you go down 25 feet and look at coral reef or something, and it's kind of glass around. Okay, I could probably do that maybe, but yeah, this no way. I just do not have the courage. I'd rather fight a bear with a knife. I'd take my chances with the bear. Sad story anyways, but
yeah, it is, and I don't know why people are
just the hate. It really just, it hurt my heart, man, because it just, it's just the way the world is anymore. It's just terrible. And it kind of it segues into a video you had sent me that I had watched, and just about the economy and just kind of the way things are, the housing market, stuff like that. And he had made this point.
What are we talking about?
I wasn't going to call him out because I didn't know if he wanted me to, but Jeremiah.
Oh, Jeremiah Babe.
Yep.
I recommend. Okay, I will.
I
You
watch
know
his
me.
videos
Like, you
all
give
the
a lot of
time.
shout outs on
Yeah.
this channel, and
Yeah.
I stay pretty.
That's why I didn't
reserved.
say nothing, because I didn't know.
I recommend everybody check out Jeremiah Babe.
Yeah, I watch probably at least his video at least every other day, if not every day, at least every other day. He's really good, so I back you on that. People should watch his channel and subscribe to him, because both of us have been watching him for years.
Yeah, I've watched Jeremiah at least. I don't even know how long. I don't want to say like this, and somebody calls me on. I'd say 5-7 years.
I would say
it's been
probably.
a long time.
I think you turned me on to his channel, and I would think it was at least 5 years ago that I started watching him. So yeah.
Here. Oh, don't play.
Let's see if it'll.
Don't play. I didn't want to play. I was trying to.
Anyways,
find...
he had made this comment in the video, the last video that you had sent over to me to watch, about the way we survived the Great Depression and stuff like that, right? And you and I had this conversation, and my ex had a grandma that survived it, owned a potato farm in a different state, and had told me all these stories about, they basically survived because the community helped each other. You trade some potatoes for eggs, and a couple of eggs for this, and everyone kind of worked together, and that they got each other through it. And he had made the comment about, the world's just different now. We're not our grandparents. Like, people are not going to help each other as much. Not like that. And my first thought was, well, maybe more people would help than you think. But then, you look at kind of the sub issue and the way, just the amount of hatred. Like, someone would put a tweet out with some hate, and it'd have 20,000 likes on it. It's not even just the tweet. It's how many people liked it or retweeted it. And I thought, maybe he's right. Maybe the world is just that toxic anymore. Maybe if the economy went really bad and you found yourself in another Great Depression like that, this would be a lot worse, because people wouldn't step up to help each other as much. Not to the level that, we did before, like our grandparents did.
There's not a lot. Okay, I'm highly suspicious of so many creators on YouTube, right? Like, I'm like, okay, what's their angle, right? Why this and that, right?
Sure.
He confuses me a little bit, because my understanding of him is he made his money in real estate, right?
Right.
And he's not doing YouTube for money.
Right.
Right? It may have became a hobby or an interest, something.
Yeah. Passion.
He's not selling anything.
No, other than maybe telling you to buy a little gold,
Right, but he tells
the one company.
He does, but he says, I don't care where you buy it. You buy it from a pawn shop, if you buy it from whoever, this is who I trust and where I've been buying it from, but wherever you buy it. He literally says, I don't care if you buy it from a pawn shop, your local dealer, right? So, right, number one, right? Like right there, right? 2, he talks a lot about faith, right? He talks about training, being healthy, So, guys like him, it's hard for me. I'm trying to figure out, like, what would he gain from this if he was just using this information to manipulate for views? You know what I'm saying? And I just can't find an angle where I hope hope that I'm getting my message across here. If you understand what I'm saying.
So if I'm following you, you think so far he just seems really legit. Like, you haven't been able to really see where he would benefit from being
Right, just intentionally out there manipulating gloom and doom to sell something or to gain something,
does,
right?
Sure.
And it does, but
I love the prepper channels, but man, some of them are terrible, right? They just...
But if he's already financially secure, right?
Yeah.
So it's not...
If he is, I mean, at least he says he is.
Yeah, yeah.
I like his channel. Most of the time, like, I don't always agree with everything he says.
No, I don't agree with anything everybody says.
But I like his channel. And I think he gives you a good, unique, some insight it's definitely handy to have and to pay attention to. I think, his opinions do carry weight with me, for sure,
He cites sources, right?
He cites sources. Not just, I like that.
He's not just talking like, "Oh, I heard from someone," right?
It's little insider baseball shit.
He says MSNBC reporting, blah blah blah, right?
He's a lot like Brian Logan.
He's got receipts while he's sitting there reading them.
ABL cites all his sources and puts them on, the website after the show, so you can double check all his sources. I like that. To me, that just lends more credibility to your opinions. And I mean, not even necessarily your opinions, because you might...
I think it's more to the message you're trying to convey, right?
Exactly.
About something that you...
Thank you. Yeah.
That you realize could be a potential problem, right?
Yeah.
So then you bring these receipts. Hey,
it's not doing the work. This isn't just me that I heard some shit. Like, I'm doing the work to really think this through, and I'm willing to share it with everybody, right? Like, this is where I'm getting it from. Kind of how you and I do with each other all the time. So, and
it seems like he really hustles. He really grinds. It's like he's 2-3 videos sometimes in a day.
I know.
And I'm like, holy cow.
He pumps them out.
And doing that research and.
I think his motivation is to help. I believe. And look, man, is he an angel? I don't know. Man. Maybe he's an asshole in real life. A wife beater. I don't know.
I know.
On a personal level, I don't know him. But the impression I've gotten from him over the years, like I followed him for a very long time, because I think out of a lot of the YouTubers, he's one of the better ones that. I like his channel. I would recommend his channel to someone for sure. I think he's been proven right, on some stuff that he was out there ahead of other people that were saying no. And, over the years watching him, like, it's...
Yeah. So
I think sincerely he just wants to help people. That's what I believe.
And those are the people I'm trying to seek out to get information from, right?
Right.
I'm suspicious when, when everything... Jeez, let me back up here a second. When I find a creator, and I'm not just talking YouTube, I'm talking a podcast.
Yep.
When they start getting me going, I'm listening, and they start talking about food shortages, and our sponsor this half hour is blah, 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 food supply.
Yeah.
Okay, you just read me off 3 stories. You had me, okay, I'm listening, this is bad. Oh, you're building up to sell me food.
It's a good debate that me and you have had more than once, because that tends to bother you more than it bothers me. Yeah. Like, I get it, it's, you're getting sponsors, you got to make a living doing it, or you wouldn't do it, right? Or a lot of people wouldn't.
I know.
So, and even if they're selling, because you're smart, okay, especially in that area of knowledge, like, you're smart with that shit. So if they just had you for 3 stories about food shortages and things like that, and then they sell you some emergency food buckets or gold or silver, does that mean that the knowledge that you just gained listening to that the information was wrong?
No,
even if their motivation was to make money, I still say it's good to listen to them, because you're still getting good information. So to me, it was more, is the information correct or not?
It's not just that they're citing a story about grain bins being blown up in Ukraine, okay?
Right.
It's the fact that they'll build up their opinions and thoughts to kind of add more fuel to
they could,
something that may have been less significant than it really was. Then I feel kind of cheated or manipulated.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I should have known.
I could get that too. But
No,
I know, like,
no,
me and you were kind of talking in one of the podcasts a long time ago about sponsors, and I thought, man, I really wouldn't want any because we're free, right? We can say whatever we want. It doesn't matter. And you were like, hell yeah, if we could get $1 million sponsorship like Black Rifle. Remember, we were doing the jokes. I was holding the Black Rifle coffee cup up, and we were making a joke about it. But I mean, hey, look at, I mean, you know, if we had a sponsor, does that mean that we're still not giving you our true, honest opinion about stuff? Like, I don't know. I would like to think it wouldn't change us.
But
so
I'm also not going to do a story about coffee bean shortages for a half hour and then
try to sell your coffee.
By the way, this half hour, we're just going to, if we got a sponsor, we're going to do the same shit we do right now.
And then you would read the ad. Obviously, you got to do however, depending on your sponsor, however many reads an hour or whatnot. Yeah, I would like to think it wouldn't change us.
You're right. The information can still be relevant, right?
Right.
I just
as long as it isn't brought to you by Pfizer. You know.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. Right. Oh man. Like, yeah, you can hear that in your sleep. You hear it so much in a day.
So that, I don't know. It seems like it cheapens.
I see your point in that. Yeah.
And I understand where you're coming from too, right? It's not. I just think sometimes it's manipulated to sell, so that the advertiser goes, "Wow, our sales are up 5%. You're doing a great job," you know.
Well, that's true. That's why they all get their, use this code to save 10% on, and one of the channels I love, and I know he's not one of your favorite, but he does some codes now. To me, I still think he's sincere. You know. I've been watching him for a long time, and I think his information is value added.
But what I worry about is people panic buying coffee.
Sure.
Because you set up
coffee brand coffee or whatever.
And then they're spending money on coffee, stockpiling that instead of
rice or
a tourniquet in their car.
Right.
Because we know that your chances of bleeding out in a car accident
are a lot higher than running out of coffee at this point, probably. So,
you know what I'm saying? And that's what worries me, is that people get that don't have enough foresight get duped into buying stuff they really don't need because someone built up, and then they could have spent their money in better areas to be better prepared for natural disaster. And that's what bothers me, because I know not everybody can see these things.
Right. And then, man, especially for new people that are just kind of just got pilled, right? And they're kind of just getting into this way of thinking, and what do you buy? What should I stock up on? Especially a lot of people, they have limited resources. Like you can't just go out and buy everything, and you panic, right? Like, so I'll concede that, like, people they're panicking, like, okay, I gotta buy like some stuff. What do I get? And then
Jake saved up $300,
and then he bought one survival bucket instead of other things that probably would have been more value added to the family or who's home. I can see
that's what bothers me.
I guess I wish other people that were prepared people, and I'm not going to call them preppers, because I think there's a difference between a prepper and a prepared person. Like, I like survivalists better. I'm a survivalist. That's what I am. You know what I mean? Like, I want to survive, and I try to read a lot of stuff that'll help me, to learn things that'll help me. I wouldn't call that, I'd call it more just being a prepared person, because you just don't know what'll happen. A tornado in your neighborhood, like we've had bad floods, roads washed out. I lived in an area where some lakes emptied out, and I was stuck at home for a week, trapped on an island basically. And I had fuel, generator, food, and then we know, like, pandemic stuff. Look at what happened where people were trapped in the home, and I've handled those situations pretty good. But prepping, I think because of like doomsday prepper, and
Yeah.
they just made such a joke out of those people. It has such a stigma around that. I hate that name. I'm a prepper. You know, what the hell does that mean? You know, what does that mean? What are you prepping? So, I don't know. If you know, I guess
you're right. I think it did get a bad rap from that series.
And I think I was on purpose. I think sometimes, you know, I wonder if they just did it to, you know, here we're going to do this cool show, everyone's going to like it, but then deep down we're really going to make fun of you guys and make everyone look like asshats. And because remember, I mean, some of the people, the one guy was on there, blew his thumb off. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, man. Put the rifle down, put his thumb over the barrel, and banged it on the, you know, yeah. And then he called it his midget digit later on because he had a stub. Like, and I thought, you guys couldn't have picked better. This is not the best of the best of the best. This is someone new.
But here you go.
To this, so
the best of the best probably wouldn't want their face on TV disclosing all their goodies for marauders to come.
Couldn't you have found mid-grade people?
I think they did. You know, the guy you like.
Some. There were a couple. Yeah,
I know.
On there that. One of them that I watched that was
Southern Prepper there.
Yeah,
he was on one of the early seasons, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then he was a judge, I believe.
Yeah, as a consultant or something.
Yeah, how they do when they judge at the end the preps and how you do it. And you know, he's another one that, you know, I like Southern Prepper one. I think, you know, I think sincerely he just wants to help. Yeah. You know, does he want to make some money while he's doing it? Yeah. You know, hey, if I could make $100,000 right now so that I could go buy some more stuff to help me out, sweet. Yeah. You know, I wish.
I get it.
There's definitely some things like I'd like to grab that are just kind of not obtainable right now. So, you know, like I said, these guys being rich and, you know, wanting to spend $250,000 a piece to go down and see the Titanic face to face, like, it's their money. You know, I don't hate them for being rich. I hate what people do. Not, you know what I mean, in the world. Like, I hate the way people treat each other. I hate rich people trying to enslave poor people. Like, I hate that. Yeah. Right? I don't hate the wealth. I hate what people do with it sometimes. You know, like, I hate that John Kerry will fly all over the world in a private jet and then tell me that I have to live in a 15-minute city and I can't own a home anymore. I can't have a gas stove because of my carbon footprint. I can't eat beef. I got to eat cricket powder now for protein while he's flying all over the world. Like, that elitist attitude of, you know, this royalty, right? I deserve this and you are just scum. You know, I hate that. But the wealth itself, like, no, man, I wish everyone, you know, especially the stories where people start out with nothing and get wealthy. Like, you know, I like seeing stuff like that. It kind of gives hope to people that if you work hard and you're smart, you know, maybe you can get there too. You know, I think that's a good motivator. It's not a bad thing.
I don't even hate people that are born into it. You don't get to choose.
I don't hate them either.
Who your parents are. You don't get to choose any of that shit.
No.
The fact that you'd hate someone because they're born into wealth, like.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, you can control it.
Yeah.
Like, you have any control over where you're born, who you're born to.
You don't get to pick your parents any more than your parents get to pick you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, look at. Not even gonna
just people that have nothing better to do. That if they put that energy into their own personal life,
they'd probably be happy people. Yeah, they'd probably be better neighbors, better friends, better husbands, wives, children.
But this pissed off at the world because of the situation you're in, and people are born into shitty situations. I get it. Like, I didn't grow up rich.
Nope.
I'm not rich now.
And you know what? Even some of those rich...
But I'm not upset at rich people.
I think about some of the stuff that they go through, too. And in their own way, they have their own hells, too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Could you imagine being born hyper rich, hyper wealthy, your whole life, never being able to trust your friend that they really are your friend because they like you, and it's not just that they want your money, and the isolation that
I would assume that being born into that kind of wealth, you're surrounded by
other wealth.
Yeah, you're going to private elite schools, and your friends' parents are CEOs and hedge fund managers, and
yeah, maybe.
I don't think
so. Maybe it's worse for the people who start out poor and become wealthy.
Yeah, no,
I guess that would be terrible. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sure that
I think lottery winners have it the worst. I heard they're snubbed bad. Like, you win the lottery, and then you go into a wealthy neighborhood.
Yeah, try to get into that country club.
You're snubbed because,
Well, that was in one of the scenes of Titanic.
Was it?
You know, it was the Molly, the unsinkable Molly. She was great. And they had earned their wealth. It wasn't family money, and they treated it's new money. It's new money. It's how the aristocrats on the boat treated them. It was kind of a neat scene. Even in the rich, there was a divide like that.
I've never watched the movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah, really good movie. Yeah, it was a really good show. Yeah. All right, you know.
I just, like I said, I'm not rich.
Cheesy love story in it.
I never had any. I got passed by a Corvette today, and I wasn't like, oh, effing rich asshole. I was just like, nice car.
Son of a B, I was
just like, yeah, it's a nice car.
Yeah, wish I could afford one.
Like, I'm not hating, and like,
I don't own a damn transformer if I had the money to do it. You know what I mean? Like, shit, I'd roll up with Optimus Prime, and then someone pissed me off. I'd say, Prime, kick his ass. Like.
I don't own a transformer.
Oh yeah, me an Autobot. So yeah, I just hate what people do with it. It's. Sometimes, not all, because there's a lot of good that comes from wealthy people too. But
there is, but there's still that desire to make more, right? Mm-hmm. To make more.
There's no such thing as enough, man.
Yeah,
there's just not. The richest people in the world, they're still trying to make more money. And it's like you and your kids couldn't spend that in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Come on. But I guess, it's just part of the addiction of it. I don't know. The root of all evil.
It was funny because Father Mike, people should listen to that too. Father Mike Schmidt's The Bible in a Year podcast. It's really good. He was actually talking about that today, about people he knew that had so much money, they didn't even have to work another day. Yeah. And yet they're away from their family, they're traveling, they're putting all this time and energy into accumulating more wealth, and they have more, like you said, they have more wealth than they can spend.
So what are you sacrificing for more that you don't need?
It confuses him.
I think it's just an obsession. But I gotta think. All of us have demons. All of us go through hell in our life, and to us, what we've been through is the worst of the worst of the worst. And there's, I don't know, a lot of rich people off themselves. I don't know that's life is great for anybody. I think there's hardships in life, even for the rich, their challenges are just different.
Right.
So I'm definitely not someone that hates wealthy people, not at all.
I was gonna send this.
I hate the people who's trying to enslave me. I hate the elitist shit. I hate what's going on in our country right now. I hate the fact that if you're uber wealthy, you can do whatever you want, break whatever law you want. They're gonna, ring you up on 2 shitty little misdemeanors, give you a slap on the wrist, and send you free on your way to go. Gone. But yet want to throw me in prison forever because I own a piece of plastic on a rifle that I may or may not own, or that you trespassed in the Capitol building and now you go to Guantanamo Bay for 2 years in solitary confinement. Like that's what I hate.
Right.
The hypocrisy of all this. That's that I don't like. I think people now we should be better than that. We should treat people better than that.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely odd how they're even certain wealthy people, mm-hmm. if they're not in power or they don't have friends in power, what happens? Like you're just saying, right?
Yeah.
was trying to find. I wanted to play something for you, but I
Yeah.
don't know why it won't let me log in. Damn it! I really want to play that. 'Cause
Technology.
yeah. 'Cause
So what else? I guess we could segue into that. Maybe you want to touch on the.
yeah, I spent way more time on Titanic. I
Yeah,
thought I would.
want to get into the Biden family a little bit, man. Like I see, since I did kind of give it a little slight mention,
What happened? What's going on?
Hunter Biden got his 2 misdemeanor charges and slap on the wrist, little probation.
For
You know, well, the 2 misdemeanors was for over $1 million in taxes that he didn't pay. So that's pretty awesome because I owed the government like a couple $100 once and didn't pay it right away, and then they threatened to garnish my wages. Like they were just gonna take it. Like,
Really?
it didn't matter. So again, I find it kind of crazy that you can own millions of dollars and then not pay it, and then, oh well, now that I'm in trouble, I'll go ahead and pay it, and then get a couple $100,000 fine and probation. Or no, I think the probation was for the gun charge, because he bought a gun. Now, for the record, I think a crackhead should be able to own a firearm. Personally, I don't think they should take your Second Amendment away because you do drugs.
right?
I just don't. But that is the law. And if that was me smoking crack on video, waving around my pew, I would have gotten 20 years in prison. And they got rid of it. It's so the double standards in justice here is starting to just sicken me, and man, it really just hurts my soul. It just every time I start to feel optimistic about the future, anything, you see things like that, and it just reminds me of just how corrupt it is anymore. It's there's always been corruption. Hell, Rome was full of corruption. Man, this is just like third world country level, like in your face. They don't even care anymore. They don't hide it. They're trying to throw Trump in prison for 200 years because, he didn't get back a document. Well, everyone, and then you see like the shit. I heard that there was 145 felonies, provable felonies on the Hunter Biden laptop. I do know, and I did see pictures of him smoking crack, driving a car through Virginia, and they know like there's no statute of limitations on this, and you can pretty much know exactly where he was in Virginia by the pictures and video. And how many people did Joe Biden throw in prison for crack?
Good question.
Because remember, he kind of helped get through this legislation, and it was like any bit of crack that was the size of a quarter. He was on the Senate floor bragging about it. He lifted the quarter up, and you're going to get an automatic 10 years. And then you see video of Hunter Biden with like a whole plate of crack and a couple of hookers and like nothing. And the guy doesn't get, it blows my mind that if you are a Democrat, you can shoot somebody and not even be arrested for it at all. But yet, if you're on a different side of the field, and you trespass, like you're gonna go to prison and solitary confinement for years. Still people that were in the Capitol that's waiting to representation, legal representation.
So you're saying it's a two-tier system, huh?
Mm-hmm. So if that's what wealth gives you, then I wish everybody'd be poor. Like I said, it's not the wealth, it's the love of it. It's what people will do to each other for it that I hate. But he got away with it, years and years and years of just, And then in our lifetime, it's like you don't pay a ticket. Like they suspend your license, they catch you driving on that. Like you're going to jail, dude. You know.
Right.
And then these people just can, get in car accidents, drunk driving, not even be arrested. It's sickening. The insider trading they do with stocks, like it starts to just get,
to me,
nauseating.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, it didn't surprise me.
It's just par for the course, right? Like I wouldn't expect.
It sickened me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get to the spot because I was gonna send this to you earlier, and I don't know how close I can get to. So just bear with us just for a minute, folks.
Looking something
right back
up
to
for
that.
us.
You remember that joke I used to say about DMT? It's like pressing Control Alt Delete for your brain.
That wasn't specifically it.
Or you can go, okay.
Book. I'm always trying to listen to like some audiobook on spirituality. It's Pema Chodron's book, newest book about dying. Something like How We Live is How We Die. It's a very good book.
Yes.
But in this book, they're sort of talking about what happens when you die before your next life. Now, obviously, you're going to have to subscribe to the model of reincarnation.
Not quite there yet.
To be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Or
We're getting there, guys.
Yeah.
We just got to flip through it.
you're making these decisions. It's not like you're spending a lot of
No, you
time
piqued my
generally
interest in
thinking
what
about
you're
them.
trying
It's
to
just
find.
spontaneous. Like the next gotten past your spontaneous
Yeah, just a minute here. I know I'm getting close.
death or practice of death.
So
It's
those
like
were kind of the
you're
main
trying
things
to
that I
make it so
kinda
that when you die,
stuck out to me, going through the week, and
in between lives, because you will
some of the things
freak
that just
out.
kind of frustrated me. But I guess in the end, all of them were all kind of
Imagine if
related
you
to just
had access to God.
how
and you
people
gotta,
treat each other.
Yeah.
I guess being raised in a time period when like Star Trek Next Generation, I know Tim Pool brings that up a lot, but it's true because I watched it religiously, and they had this utopian world created where like humans for the most part treated each other really well, and there was peace, and there just wasn't these issues about race and class and all that shit. It was just exploring the universe and
Right.
kind of humanity kind of coming together, and you just wish at some point man would get his shit together. But I guess he's in reality you're not supposed to, because eventually the world
So
gets
cool.
bad enough that
The underground Christianity
It
is
is.
so cool. And the stories of the Christian saints.
and I think that was all
Look at
major
that folder.
religions kind of
And
believe that
and
and
also
agreed
what's
with
cool
that,
about it
but-
is it's saying you can. You don't have to like be that. You don't have to like continue.
Oh, we're so close. I should have. This is just part of doing the
It's
show
being
live,
presented to us.
you know?
By hierarchical
'cause
power
guys,
structures
like, we're not.
that
This is not
presents a
scripted.
universe of
Like, we might
suffering
have
and
an
sorrow
idea
and
of
hell
what we're going to talk about.
with
We'll send each
no
other a few
solution
videos
ever
back and
offered.
forth.
No one is safe.
But we really
No
don't
one is
know.
safe.
This is an organic conversation that just kind of goes on its own course, and
Gigantic throng.
and we
of
do it
people.
all in one
Yeah.
take.
I mean,
It is what it
he
is.
the
So
God that's- and you see
it's
someone
not
talking
like some heavily edited.
Right.
We go back and,
Right.
and spend hours cleaning
Sinking
it up,
into the
and
material.
so if I got a boogie hanging, sorry.
call it evil.
just-
You can
you
call
know.
it corrupted by money.
It's just
Yeah,
Definitely the freak.
But
And
he's
we
just
wanted it
tweak.
kind of that way. It just seemed more real
Almost.
and
And we try to ignore
natural.
it. We try to pretend it doesn't exist, but everybody like knows.
Yeah.
Hey,
So yeah, like I
and
knew
then
like
every
some
4 years
things
you get a
through
new
the
daddy.
week that
And
kind of
sometimes you hate daddy.
stuck
Dad
out
sucks.
to me, like the
Daddy's
Solomon stuff. But I didn't know.
It's all outside of
I
time
might
space.
Sat down in the studio with you, and you have something completely different.
Probably
yeah, we
keeps
just
him
never know
coming
where
back
it's
here.
gonna go.
yeah, the way you
Cool
broke down,
to help
Duncan
give me
Trussell
the
broke down
motivation to be less of an asshole.
about
I mean, and also when you're dying,
why we're not supposed to worship
whatever the next life
other
may be for you
gods.
or nothing,
And
who
it-
gives a fuck?
it-
It's like you reincarnate in a
he explains
lifetime.
it,
Like you have many
it was like,
incarnations in any
I
given
never
human
heard it.
lifetime. You will go
If
through
a
so many different
priest or a
phases.
minister would explain it like
and
this,
the more you
Yeah.
gain
so
control
many people would
of your ability
understand
to
it
not react,
so much better.
the more you will inform
hopefully you
what
can
you're
find
growing
it.
into.
Yeah.
The more
I'd really like
It
to-
should
is
be
a
right
mindful
here.
or intentional
Really like to hear his
personal
take on it.
evolution versus a kind
Yeah.
of chaotic
Like I said, people
like
just bear
mutation
with us.
Yeah.
based
be
on just
patient.
you
It's all
instantly
good.
And
doing
when we get to
everything your
that part
brain
in the
tells you
video,
to do.
we'll shut up so
exactly
that
in
you
the
guys
moment.
can hear it, you know? Because I know when
You
we're
know, so
talking
just-
and
I
the
think
video's
that's
playing, it's
very
just kind of...
accurate. That
we're,
very
we're
much
getting it. At
resonates
least
with
it's a
me.
lot cleaner this way
Yeah.
than the way
Saying
we
that,
used to
like,
play
I see what you're
video,
saying.
where you
Because you
pick it
kind
up
of
secondary
are
through the
like
mic, and it would always have this echo to
as
it.
you
And this will
develop
sound a
and
lot
learn
cleaner,
those things. It's so hard to tell.
especially if we shut up.
Yeah, right.
The structure of the language is so different than ours.
It should be real close. I know I
Stories
looked.
that wound up in the
Tried to
Bible.
get an
It's not
idea of
necessarily
Yeah,
the
where it
Bible.
was
Try to
falling.
timestamp
It's-
it.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
stuff in the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't make the cut for the like it didn't get in there.
But a lot of the
We're close
stories
here.
are kind of similar.
So
But there's a lot of wild
Well,
shit in there.
Oh my
Listen,
A
god,
lot of
Yeah.
wild shit in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I know. I mean, there's a lot of wild shit in the standard Bible they put in
Right.
hotel room drawers.
But just imagine that that's the origin, right? So that's these
you bastard.
animal skins that they found in clay pots in Qumran.
Yeah.
And they do DNA tests on the animal skins to make sure that they align the pieces.
Did
'cause
you
it's
know
all
that?
fragmented and broken
I
apart.
had no idea
Yes,
they
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 did
have to
did.
figure
DNA
out how
tests
to
on
do.
animal skins?
Yeah,
So
you
they
have to
knew
have
where
the
to
same
put the
animal.
Dead Sea
So it's
Scrolls
like,
back
okay, well,
together.
this is the same animal skin
I've
because we ran a
seen some
DNA
studies.
test on it. And so
Wow.
then they get
Okay.
all the. It took forever. It took forever
not know
for them
that.
to do this. That's
I watched
why
some
that
of the
John
reconstruction
Marco
of it.
Allegro book is so fascinating.
But it was
The Sacred
mind-blowing.
Mushroom and the Cross.
Yes, I
That's what
remember.
that
Word
book
for
is
word.
fascinating.
Parts of it that they've
That guy
translated
studied
is
the Dead Sea
exactly the
Scrolls
same.
for 14 years.
But
And
that's where
was
he-
an ordained minister who became agnostic.
That's where Joe
when he
was
started
saying, though,
studying
like,
theology. He was
even
like,
in the
Hey,
translation,
hold on. Let
Because
me
he's saying right now, if you were trying to read something in Russian and you convert it to English,
You
it
lose
broke
some-
up because a lot of it doesn't even translate.
Right.
There aren't English words for what they're trying to say.
Right.
So then you got to fill in the gaps with people going, well, we think this is what they meant.
Right. So what the King James version of the Bible translated hundreds of years ago was, I think it was over 200 years ago, into the English version that
Yeah.
we currently read now. So the study I seen was translating it now. Currently, Dead Sea Scrolls translate it would be the same. So in other words, they translated it as close as we could, as accurate as you can, but that it did verify the accounts that were there. Like even if some of the words are a little hard to translate over for meaning because we don't always have, because originally it was a Hebrew, I think is what those original Dead Sea Scrolls, I think you'll have to fact check that and see what language they're written in. It might have been Sumerian or something. I know it's an ancient religion.
You know, somebody's yelling right now, no, it's
Yeah, you know, someone that really knows. Hey, look, man, I told you, I'm just a redneck dude that likes Discovery Channel. Like, I don't know shit. I'm not like some hyper intelligent person. I just some of this shit fascinates me.
are ancient Jewish and Hebrew.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let me before I say that. Come on, load up. Discovered created North coordinations confirmed.
I thought it was Hebrew.
Palestine near they didn't have the Jesus. Well, come on, are you gonna tell them what language here?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm about
Have you seen it?
99% convinced that it was Hebrew. Only in the title, you know.
yeah, I
I didn't
didn't
see
see
it,
it in the.
Oh, right there.
written in Hebrew.
Written in Hebrew. So you could bring it up just to show the folks if you want, so that they could see it too. But anyways, my point being is, yes, I understand like some words, what exactly they're trying to say. You're kind of interpreting it when you're translating it to a point. But when they said that what was written in the Bible was fantasy and drastically changed and all this, when now that you can look back at the Dead Sea Scrolls and the parts of it that's been put back together and that they can translate is word for word the same as the Old Testament. Now, I understand that maybe the word didn't translate right, or we struggle with having that exact word for the meaning. Yes, okay, that's fair. But they still match up that ancient Hebrew writing to from thousands of years ago, which shows you then that the book we have hasn't been drastically changed and rewritten so many times and diluted with humanity that, you know, it's to me, it just reinforces. But, you know, to a Christian, it shouldn't matter anyways, because the idea is faith, right? And having faith is believing in someone you, I guess, don't have the reason to, you know. Proving it, you don't have to prove it. Someone doesn't have to prove to me that the Bible's real. I believe it is, because I read it and I believe it. And I have faith.
Yeah.
That's essential to my religion. So, but I do find it fascinating though that they can look back now thousands of years ago and see these writings, and you know, they translate it now and it's still the same.
Yeah, but I don't know if you heard when they were talking about it in here.
Reserve judgment.
Yeah.
And he was a straight scholar. And it was his determination after all these years.
When I go back, because I actually
That's
get
why
into
that
that.
you have to figure out how to do. Yeah, you have to have things that they found in clay, wild shit in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, right. And
Stuff in the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't make the cut for the like it didn't get in there.
But a lot.
Because they talk
The
about
oldest version is the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's
Garbled.
yeah. It doesn't make total sense because the structure of the language is so different than ours.
yeah.
That's
here.
read. Like, have you ever read anything that's like translated, like someone tweets
Or just a couple more.
about,
What?
like the reincarnation? Like, who knows what the
Here
fuck
we go.
they really meant when they wrote those things? It's so hard to tell. I mean, I think unless you could go back and read, like, have you ever read anything that's like translated, like someone tweets something in Russian? Like, there's a lot of MMA fighters. They'll tweet something.
Oh, you bastard.
Technical difficulties, guys. You know, it's technology. It's not perfect.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the background.
It's not cooperating.
Yeah. Was rolling smooth.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this episode though.
Yeah.
You know, see.
Because it was weird as it looked like it was playing, so I don't know if we lost. Dang it.
There you go. Problems in real time. You know.
Yeah, right. I know. Feel so bad. It's like we test something, it's going good.
Yeah, it's going really good.
Yeah.
We kind of upgraded some stuff, and you know, we've changed some stuff around a little bit. We're trying to constantly just improve this, make it easier to watch, easier to listen to. But sometimes when you change things, it hiccups a little bit on you too. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a bummer because it was.
Like, who knows what the fuck they really meant when they wrote those things? It's so hard to tell.
Let's see if it'll go or
I mean,
not.
I think unless you could go back and read, like, have you ever read anything that's like translated, like someone tweets something in Russian? Like, there's a lot of MMA fighters. They'll tweet something.
you should bring that up.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, it freezes right. That same spot.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Scrolls. That's the
Oh, right
oldest
there.
version of the stories
That's weird that in that one
That's because
spot it
the
didn't.
structure of the language is so different.
Maybe it's
than
not
ours.
us then.
Yeah.
That's the Bible, man. You could if you could translate. First of all, if you could go back to the oldest version they have.
Oh man, I don't know why it keeps.
That sucks.
Gosh dang it!
Yep, that's frustrating.
It won't.
That's pretty interesting where he's going.
It
with
won't give me an option that I know right here not to have video,
this. Yeah.
to where we could just listen to the audio.
Just listen to it with the audio. Yeah, maybe it would go smoother.
Yeah, I think it would, but
Dang.
for whatever reason,
Necessarily the Bible. It's
See.
Yeah, some stuff in the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't make the cut for the like it didn't get in there.
oh, I think it will right there.
Yep.
Now.
There
Yeah, I
we go.
think
Both.
we might have got it.
wrote those things. It's so.
I think it'll go now.
I mean, I think unless you could go back and read, like, have you ever read anything that's like translated?
There we go.
Like someone tweets something in Russian. Like there's a lot of MMA fighters. They'll tweet something in
Yeah.
Russian and I'll translate it.
And it's
It's a little broken.
garbled.
Yeah, it doesn't make total sense because the structure of the language is so different than ours. That's the Bible, man. You could if you could translate. First of all, if you could go back to the oldest version they have, which I think the oldest version is the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's the oldest version of the stories that wound up in the Bible.
Sure.
It's not necessarily the Bible. It's
Yeah, some stuff in the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't make the cut for the like it didn't get in there.
but a lot of the stories are kind of similar. But
Right,
there's a lot
that's
of
what you're
wild
saying.
shit in there.
Oh my
A
god.
lot of wild shit in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I know. I mean, there's a lot of wild shit in the standard Bible they put in
Right.
hotel room drawers.
But just imagine that that's the origin, right? So that's these animal skins that they found in clay pots in Qumran.
Yeah.
And they do DNA tests on the animal skins to make sure that they align the pieces because it's all fragmented and broken
I had
apart.
no idea they
So they
did
have to
that.
figure out how to do. Yeah, you have to have the same animal. So it's like, okay, well, this is the same animal skin because we ran a DNA test on it. And so then they get all the. It took forever. It took forever for them to do this. That's why that John
It's not
Marco
done yet.
Allegro book is so fast. He was like, hold on, let me reserve judgment.
Yeah.
And he was a straight scholar. And it was his determination after all these years of studying the Dead Sea Scrolls that the entire Christian religion was a misunderstanding. That what we think of it as today, what it really was about the consumption of psychedelic mushrooms and fertility rituals. And that it was all baked into the stories. And that the stories, like even like the apple, like the forbidden apple. I mean, they're talking about the Amanita muscaria mushroom that looked like an apple.
Yeah.
It's just red, and apparently even the translation of it, in some people have translated it to red instead of like that apple,
Right.
the term, that it actually means red. That's what they're trying to say. They're not even trying to say apple.
Yeah.
We've just converted it to an apple because that's the best. That story, that the way that story comes together, that you don't listen to God, you eat the apple, and then, oh, fuck, now you ruined everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind
Red
of
fruit
what he's
is
saying
what it's
about
supposed to be.
the whole
Yeah.
idea
And
of
we
these
use
psychedelic
apple.
mushrooms, that they're hiding these things from their conquerors. They're hiding these things from the Romans.
Right.
So I mean, imagine if you had access to God and you had a marauding, intrusive army that's about to come into, but you want to document all this stuff.
Right.
You have to kind of fucking document it in parables. You have
Yeah.
to
Hide it.
hide it in stories.
Draw a fish in the sand to let people know
Yeah.
you're a Christian, which
Yeah.
is so cool. The underground Christianity is so cool. And the stories of the Christian saints getting fucking butchered
This
and,
is
and,
cool.
and ignited and then like crying, not because they're being immolated, but for the people immolating them. Oh shit. That is so hardcore, man.
Hardcore.
And dude, to get back to your other thing, about like that folder on the desktop.
Mm-hmm.
This is, if you want to understand, it always confused me, the whole born again thing. That's
Yeah.
what they're talking about. It's like you have to like fucking get rid of that folder.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of that folder.
And also what's cool about it is it's saying you can. You don't have to like be that. You don't have to like continue on this like dark, shitty, neurotic, sad, depressed, selfish, greedy, angry, shadowy life. Like
Try to bump ahead.
Which is what I would say if you want to find like what the demiurge is. It is the hypnotic zeitgeist. No one is safe and nothing can fix it. No one will fix this. Some version of that. And what you do is you hypnotize people. And now they worship you because they're connecting to fear.
That's necessarily
so this is like the story of like, you know, you embody that force, call it whatever you want. Satan.
Jump over to the other side.
You embody that force and that.
Hitler embodied Satan.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have skipped past it. Damn it.
Presents the universe of suffering and sorrow and hell,
danger,
with no solution ever offered.
No one is safe.
No one is safe, and nothing can fix it. No one will fix this. Some version of that, and what you do is you hypnotize people. And now,
no, I didn't skip
Hitler
past it.
when he was.
It's.
Yeah, as far as I had learned, watching some documentaries on the Desert, like, they're still working on this. Like they're going to be working on this for generations. Like, you know, a lot of them are rolled. You can't just pull them apart. They disintegrate when you do. So they got this new technology where they X-ray it deeper and deeper and deeper.
And Caesar,
digitally
here's about this great philosopher. Apparently, he was an.
You know, so.
With this, like, you know,
they're using a lot of different technologies
the imperial regalia
to do this.
Just what is it? And he goes.
But you know, I got it. My argument would be to someone that says, "Well, you know, it's just a pagan religion
so
that's
obvious.
misunderstood."
There's nothing there. It's smoke and mirrors. Wizard of Oz. Like, when he comes up.
If you believe God is real and He created the universe,
it's almost
and
oblivious.
Outside of time and space and all this shit, like you don't think he understood that a couple of dumbass humans were going to write this and they would write it in a certain way. Like, I still believe no matter how you get there, the Bible ends up being exactly what it was meant to be.
Because it just seemed odd. I was like, I think there's a precursor step. I mean, the
this is the part I wanted to get to.
No, it's not going to play. Wow. Man, that's crazy.
Oh, bastard.
I know that.
What are the odds, right?
I think one of the things that kind
precursor step. I mean, the first step is
mushrooms.
Even before you take the stop being an idolater. Like, in the fucking Bible, I always was confused. Like, what's this worshiping false idol shit? Because it just seemed odd. I was like, why the fuck does God give a shit about that? It created the universe, so what? They're like throwing flowers at a cow. Who fucking cares? But now in my old age, I get it. Because it's obviously, it's representing, don't let anybody trick you into thinking that they're God. Don't let anybody trick you into thinking that they are some whatever the fuck it is. Don't let a middleman tell you that he's got a direct line to the divine that you don't have. Because whatever that may be, whether it's literally God, whether it's some access to some world of scientific information that you're too dumb to understand, whatever it may be, don't fall prey. Don't succumb to that level of manipulation. And the best way to do that is to look for the truth. I mean, for me, that's God. That's aligning with what I would think of as a transcendent, benevolent, ever.
Had a preacher, a minister, whatever, explain it to me like that. Look, I'm a little feral, all right?
Right.
Like, sometimes this clean, neat way that you get preached to about, you know, don't believe in false gods, right? When it's explained to me like that, that's speaking my language.
Right.
I can wrap my mind around that explanation of why, right?
Yeah.
So you're not manipulated.
Me like that. Huh? I said I had a minister explain it to me, kind of like that too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good way of. It's just kind of. I don't want to say a dumbed down way, of just a normal way, right? Of speaking. So. Sometimes people like to speak from the podium, and they, get grandiose about it, and they talk over everyone instead of to them. So and the idea of ministering should be to bring people in, right? To invite them in and bring them in and promote that, you know, I love it. Like, you know, I know a lot of you guys have heard. There might be new people that don't. My brother's a minister. You know, a damn good one. And you know, he's kind of gotten into some situations where like he does rescue ministry and stuff too. You know, like who are recovering drug addicts and like this real like serious intervention to help people at the worst of their lives. And sometimes, you know, there's been some people that are associated with churches that would be like, you know, why are you, you know, ministering to that? And it's like, you know, who did Jesus minister to, man? Like he went in the slums to the sick and the poor, and like, I mean, he preached in the synagogues too, you know, but he preached on the street. Like the people that are most desperate for you is, you know, where you go. Like he has a huge impact on people's lives, and like I couldn't be prouder of him. You know what, the work he does is pretty amazing, I think. And I think that's what a minister talk to people, you know. And if you're talking over them, you're not promoting it. You know what I mean? You're just glorifying yourself. Then it's about you and not about the message. It should be about the message. Because I would tell you the one thing, like, look, man, they've been trying to what do you call that? Taint, tarnish, disprove, make fun of Christianity since it started. You know, this religion was born out of the Jewish religion. So it started as, at the very beginning stages of Christianity, started as Jews saying this is blasphemy and a lie and you're going to go to hell. So they've been trying to just tweak this for forever since it's been around, and it stands the test of time. Like it's still here. And my thought always was like, what is it about? Why do other religions attack Christianity so bad? Outside of maybe the Jewish religion, because you were splitting off from the Jews, so I could understand them being a little nasty about it, maybe. But you know, why in the hell would Muslims or Buddhists or anyone else, or atheists or agnostic people, what is so threatening of Christianity? You know what I mean? Like, just be a good person. You know what I mean? Like, don't rape people, don't kill people. All the laws we have, that this country is kind of, all the good that the country has done in the world, that, you know, it's kind of founded on Christianity, those beliefs, that way of life. Like, why is it so bad? You know, and it's because it's true. To me, that's what my heart tells me. It's because it's real and it's true and it's effective, and it is terrifying. The light, the light is terrifying to anyone that's in the shadows, you know. So that's the way I see it. Anyways, there's my ministry. My brother would be proud. You know.
Anybody wants to listen, I'm sure majority of people already know, but it's episode 2000, Joe Rogan Experience with Duncan Trussell. You want to go back and listen to the full episode.
I'm definitely gonna go back and listen to that one.
Yeah.
Man, I'd love to go on that show once. Come on, Joe, bring me on and let's talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls. You know,
his knowledge is just
he's brilliant. You know, I love listening to him. You know, Jordan Peterson's another one that just, man, the knowledge, just to be able to pick that guy's brain for a couple of minutes.
Like the fact that he knew what it was it the I'm just gonna look it up time. Like come on. Oh, he knew they're in the Qumran caves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like he just knew that off the top of his head. I didn't know where they were. What cave? I knew they were found in caves, but I didn't know the name of them. The fact that he has.
And I just watched this too. Like, they were showing the caves that they did the documentary I watched about it, or I've seen a couple different documentaries about it, but. They actually took in some of the caves. It's pretty cool.
And the fact they weren't found until what they said, the 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah, between 46 and 56.
Yeah.
That just,
This whole time, sitting in there, no one knew.
yeah.
Probably most valuable writing in the history of human beings. And just sitting in a cave, yeah, and you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, what are they gonna find next? The
Right.
Ark?
Yeah, it's missing, right?
Right?
Ark of the Covenant, missing. Like, I don't know. We need Indiana Jones. He found a bunch
Where do you
of
think
shit.
that's at? If you had your best guess, where do you think the Ark of the Covenant is?
I'd say it's in Israel somewhere.
Yeah.
I still say it's there. It's buried. I bet you there's the Jewish people. They're tough, man. Like that carried around their laws from God. Like that just didn't get stolen. And like I think if someone would have actually had it, I think by now it would have surfaced. I think the idea that it hasn't is either it's really is lost and it'll turn up maybe someday, some archaeologist site, or they still have it hidden. But if I, my guess, and I'm a simpleton, so don't bet no money that I'm right. But if I had to guess, I'd say probably Israel, somewhere buried that. Highly protected, I think the Jews still have it.
You don't think maybe the U.S. has them? Has it?
It's possible. I would say if anyone else had it, it would probably be the U.S. Then it would. If it's not in Jewish hands, it's in Christian hands. But I don't.
The fact that the U.S. has been able to wield the power it has,
Right.
you know what I mean? I don't know. Have you ever thought about it like that?
Yeah,
Like,
that's yeah. I know when you read the stories in the good book, I mean, like people that you couldn't touch it, people that touched it that weren't allowed to died like terribly. So, and I believe those stories. I believe those stories for sure. There's definitely a lot more to life. Whether you need to eat a mushroom to go there and see it, or you want to spend 3 days in a dark room like. Was it Aaron Rodgers did or was gonna do? It's dark room. You spend like days in the dark.
Oh yeah.
With no light at all, and it gives you the kind of the same thing that happens when you do psychedelics. You start to open your third eye, hallucinate, whatever. Communicate with other beings. For clarity. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think?
I think that was probably a pretty good show. Yeah. They're probably bored to death listening to us talk.
All right. Well, find any value here, just give us a thumbs up, give us a rating, leave a comment.
Help us out, guys. Share it. Share it. Yep. Would you?
Subscribe.
Help us grow this thing.
Yeah. Be kind to each other.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys later.